Good to see you back. Long before I first saw this film, I heard a lot of good things about it and its iconic star. This usually means that I'm disappointed because the film falls too far short of its build-up. But despite my high expectations, this film exceeded them. It's from a highly respected stage and screen director and adapted from an important novel by a Nobel Prize-winning writer. It is East of Eden from 1955. The John Steinbeck novel East of Eden was released in September of 1952 and quickly became a #1 bestseller. By early of 1954, Paul Osborne was busy working on the screenplay and Elia Kazan had been attached as director. The biggest challenge was that the book's multi-generational story was far too big for a feature-length film, so the focus shifted to the final section of the novel dealing with the conflict between Cal and his father and brother. While Steinbeck could be difficult when it came to adaptations of his work, he genuinely liked and trusted Kazan and allowed him to proceed without interference. Steinbeck made a point of staying away from the set during shooting to avoid intimidating the director or the cast. During production, Kazan wrote letters to Steinbeck to keep him updated on the film's progress. Kazan felt a personal connection to the role of Cal. He'd had a strained relationship with his own father, who was a stern and unforgiving man, so he identified closely with the character. Kazan considered casting Marlon Brando, who was 30 at the time, as Cal, and Montgomery Clift, who was 34, as Aaron, but decided they were both too old to play teenage brothers. Paul Newman was considered and screen tested for both roles, but was also too old, being 29 at the time. The role of Aaron in the end went to screen debutant Richard Davalos. James Dean, an unknown at the time, had been attracting a lot of attention for his small role in Andre Gide's The Immoralist on the New York stage. Kazan was familiar with Dean from the Actors Studio, the theatrical training ground he had helped to found, and he'd even worked briefly with Dean on a small project there. Kazan didn't think much of Dean as an actor, but recognised that he was right for the part of Cal. He sent Dean to meet Steinbeck, who found that while he didn't like Dean personally, he too thought that he was perfect for Cal. Before shooting began, Elia Kazan sent James Dean off to Palm Springs to gain some weight and to get some sun so that he looked like a real farm boy. Dean hated getting a tan, having his hair cut and drinking a pint of cream a day to put on weight, but he did as he was told. When they arrived in Los Angeles to begin shooting, Kazan accompanied James Dean to visit his estranged father. He witnessed how badly Dean was treated, but also how much Dean wanted to please his father. The parallels with the character of Cal cemented Kazan's decision to cast him. Kazan gave James Dean the freedom to approach the role as he saw fit and encouraged the expression of difficult emotions brought up by the similarities between the actor and his character. Kazan was impressed by Dean's willingness to take risks. James Dean is remarkable in this film. There are moments when you can see that his acting is just pure instinct. Dean had limited experience and little formal training beyond his exposure to method acting, which is what informed his behaviour on set. In order to feel as uncomfortable as possible in the Ferris wheel scene, James Dean refused to urinate the entire day until the sequence was completed. There was tension between the characters of Adam Trask, played by Raymond Massey, and Dean's character Cal, so Dean would provoke Massey off camera in order to heighten the tension on the screen. While Raymond Massey came to despise James Dean, he felt the role of Adam Trask was one of the best film roles he'd ever played. While Dean's influence makes the film as good as it is, it's also caused a lot of problems on set. James Dean hated being made up and would run into the bathroom at various intervals to rub off a little makeup at a time, often being makeup free by the end of the day. He was difficult to deal with during the production, at times refusing to leave his dressing room or talk to anyone. James Dean was frequently unprepared on set and didn't know his lines, deviating considerably from the script on many occasions. The result was that some of these scenes were so powerful and emotionally charged that they made the final cut. Dean's emotions often overtook him and he would frequently cry on set. As the film progressed, Dean started to feel his power as a rising star and began treating crew members disrespectfully, something Kazan didn't tolerate. Richard Davalos said that James Dean helped him to get so immersed in the role of Aaron that it took him 2 years to get over it. The two behaved together offset just like they did in the story. The most difficult scene for Davalos was when James Dean as Cal hits him after an argument. He left the set after the scene and cried for about 4 hours until Julie Harris calmed him down. Kazan credited Julie Harris with getting James Dean through the picture. Kazan appreciated her voice, her lack of pretension, her intensity, and what he saw as the perfect combination of purity and sexual awareness. Harris found Kazan easy and thrilling to work with because he got everyone excited about what they were doing. Julie Harris found James Dean exhilarating and highly imaginative, but could also see his fragility. On the last day of shooting, she went to Dean's trailer to say goodbye and found him crying because the production was over. Kazan found the filming of East of Eden challenging, as it was his first colour film and his first in CinemaScope. He took advantage of colour by emphasising green throughout the film, while using the yellow and the whites of the wildflowers to fill the screen in other shots. He also took full advantage of the wide frame. Some good examples incorporating the train, either pulling away from the station with all the lettuces on it, or with Cal sitting on its roof. In some scenes, Kazan and his director of photography, Ted McCord, pushed the camera so close it caused the side edges of the screen to appear curved, an accidental effect that Kazan liked and used for dramatic effect. McCord suggested that as long as they were using the camera this way, they should also tip the camera angle in other shots. Elia Kazan thought that Jo Van Fleet playing Cal's estranged mother Kate was brilliant. This was Van Fleet's film debut. It was her only Oscar nomination, and she won for Best Actress in a Supporting Role. James Dean's raw performance was a revelation for audiences, but left critics surprisingly indifferent. Many described his performances as indulgent overacting. Most, including Truman Capote, thought that he simply imitated Marlon Brando. The New York Times and Variety were particularly harsh. Dave Keir of the Chicago Reader praised the adaption by Kazan and the down-to-earth performance of James Dean and Richard Davalos. Bosley Crowther described the film as having energy and intensity, but little clarity and emotion. Kate Cameron of the New York Daily News proclaimed Dean a new star who plays his first film role with a naturalness that is completely unconvincing. 50 years later, film critic Kenneth Turan of the LA Times said East of Eden is not only one of Kazan's richest films and Dean's first significant role, it is also arguably the actor's best performance. Elia Kazan was nominated for a Best Director Oscar, and after his death, James Dean was nominated for Best Actor, but neither won. It is included amongst the AFI's top 400 greatest American movies, but it's surprising that it doesn't appear on more greatest movies lists. For Leonardo DiCaprio, East of Eden was the film that made him obsessed with movies. It is one of Nicolas Cage's favourite films, admitting that he went on into acting because he wanted to be James Dean. So lots of good reasons to check out this particular film. It's beautifully shot and makes the most of colour and the widescreen. There is some great location shooting around the Salinas Valley in Monterey, the setting of Steinbeck's novel. James Dean is fascinating to watch, often really making a scene work at times when there is little of importance happening from a story perspective. So what I'd suggest you do is that you go to our website, find our virtual screenings page, find the link to this particular film, click on it and watch it. As always, see what you think. We would always love you to come back, let others know what you thought about the film and whether you'd recommend it for them also. And then we'll see you back again in the not too distant future for our next Classic Films review. See you next time.